I was at the Art Center College, went over there, and there was a guy who was a job placement officer who had placed me at Ford years ago. Happened to ask, do you do outside work? I didn't, but I said yes. That's the first clue you want to do in life. And by the way, next day I got a call, go to the Disney studio and meet Mr. Irvine there in about 20 minutes. Then I was also friends with Iworks, who was the man who started the company with Walt. And he shows movies of what's going on in the back lot, and there was a little chassis of a car, no body. And I thought, you don't suppose they need a body on a little car, and I'm a body designer. That was a good guess, and I went to work, and 27 years later, when they fired me, I got all those jobs done. No, you got to realize there was no such thing as Theme Park 101 in college. Everything that everybody was going to do had never been done before. So it didn't matter what you were educated at. You weren't going to use your education anyway. Walt was always going to give out requests to do this and figure things out. And he'd never done it either, of course, but he had done animation and films. But now he wanted to do, a brick and mortar park. It was quite radical. So basically, he figured out what kind of people might be able to do the things he wanted done. And he was very typical when he would ask you to do something, and it was something you'd never done before. Like we had animators who had never sculpted, and then Walt said, well, I think you'd be a good sculptor. Why don't you just start? That's how he would treat people. And of course, in my case, since I was trained in body design, surface development part of a car, Walt assumed that if I did auto styling, I did mechanical engineering. I just shut up and just kept working. I have no mechanical engineering training whatsoever. I got the best mechanical engineering training by actually doing the job that I wasn't qualified for. Now stop and think of that. If you were to go to a school, you have a curriculum, 4 years, you'll come out at the other end, like you're trained in a deep trough and you can't get out, but you know how to do what they taught you to do. You have your mind and there's no more flexibility to try to figure stuff out. That seemed to be the giant clue around Walt Disney that you just don't see in a lot of people. Right. When he was excited about something, that little eyebrow would just shoot up and had that little twinkle in his eye like, oh, I'm going to have something nobody's got. Wait till I show the world this thing. Day in, day out, I would say he's kind of slightly serious, slightly agitated a little bit. And I think the source of that was, like you run across a lot of people like that, they are thinking the whole time of what they're going to do. It's such a consuming thing, almost like 24 hours a day. I think at night, some of us, we think all night long, and we wake up and go, oh, I got it, write it down real quick. Then I got to go to work in the morning and hope I remember it. His mind worked like that, and a lot of people he collected worked just like that. Walt also had another characteristic that was kind of fascinating and very natural. Instead of having classical management matrix where information goes down, information turns around, comes back, and it goes through filters going both directions so you don't get the true answer. Walt would walk out of his office and walk around that whole back lot at the studio, see what's going on with his own eyes. You won't be more than about 3 days out of whack before he'll notice you need to do something a little bit different. The time saving is fabulous. But here's the other thing. He wouldn't chew you out. He'd actually look at something and he'd say, Bobby, did you ever think of... Oh, I didn't think of that one, Walt. Now you can't wait to share your new idea of his new idea that just happened 20 seconds before. That to him was natural, and people that would work there, it didn't take very long before that was their natural daily MO. Walt did everything possible to make himself approachable. He'd unloosen his tie and make himself look kind of ratty so that he could have a conversation. And he would always point out to people, he says, well, to get this stuff done, I have to talk to people, Now you can have a critique, and the design is good or the design is bad or needs some work. Now, if the design was good, what you're doing is good, Walt would simply walk in, he'd just look around. Sometimes he wouldn't say a word. He'd just walk around, he'd look at your drafting board and, or maybe say something, and he'd walk out. About 5 minutes later, the guy down the hall would come and run into the room and says, what is it that you're doing? Walt just came in and said, you got to go see what Gurr's doing down there. That's your attaboy. Now, see, he never gave a personal attaboy to anybody. It's just, you just don't do that. But he couldn't wait to go tell somebody else how good your stuff was. Company later. I worked for Steven Spielberg. He did exactly the same thing. He talked to the people doing the work, and he didn't have any layers of management. Spielberg and Wynn and Walt, they're very similar kind of guys to work with. They understood this thing of tight communication, not being driven by methodologies or procedures or protocols. That's the bad word. Everybody asks me process, then I stare at people. I say, process. That's the bad word. That's like being in a rut. Smart. Given a question, and you've never done it before, you get there by off-the-wall thinking. You know, French cats bouncing off a wall type of thinking. And you do that with everybody around you, and guess what? The configuration that's going to work gradually becomes very, very visible, and it's never done by a process. Ordinary companies are process companies, so don't use that word on me again.
Okay.
All right.